Let's go. All right. This Sichos talks about the gifts of the 12 princes, and
the gift of
the 12 leaders of the tribes, 12 princes, and the meaning of the Medrash's praise of the tribes. Medrash says it's considered that they've all brought it on the first day, and it's considered that they all brought it on the last day. So we're going to try to figure out what that means. What's better, the last day, the first day? Why is it considered they all brought it on the first day? Why is it considered all brought on the last day? Who would want to bring it on the last day anyways? Let's go. After the Torah concludes describing all of the gifts that the leaders of each tribe brought to inaugurate the altar, Torah says, the Torah then says the summary of the total gift of all of the leaders of the tribes. That each of them gave a bowl, so altogether there were 12 silver bowls. So the Torah gives a summary of the sum total of their gifts. The Medrash comments and says the following: on the day that the altar was inaugurated, only one gift was given. Day one, the altar was inaugurated, there was only one silver bowl. So why does the Torah say there was 12 on day one? The Torah considers it as if all 12 offered their silver bowl on the first day. And on the day the altar was inaugurated, in day one, the Torah considers it as if there's 12 bowls there. Medrash isn't satisfied by saying this. Medrash also adds a phrase and says, and it's also considered as if all of them brought on the 12th day. So it's considered as if they all brought it on day 1 of Nisan, and it's also considered they all brought on day 12 of Nisan. Parshas is being al-kach. How does the Talmud know that it's considered as if all of them brought it on the day 12 of Nisan? We have a proof for day 1, but it says this is the gift of the leaders of the Shvatim on the day the altar was inaugurated. The altar was inaugurated on day 1. But how do we know that's considered like they all brought their gift on the 12th day? Because it says in the Torah, this is the inauguration of the altar after it was anointed. After it was anointed. So that means we're not talking about day 1, we're talking about after it was anointed, after all of the offerings were brought later on the 12th day. So this is their gift on the 12th day. So we're considering all of their gifts to be on day 12. You understand something. The advantage of bringing things on day 1 is understood. The guy who is honored with giving the first gift, that indicates that he is precious in the eyes of Hashem. He's greater than everybody else. That's why he's honored to give the first gift. So it's something that the gift in the first day says about the giver. It's possible to think that the inauguration of the altar was really only the first time the sacrifice was brought. You could say that the guy who brought the sacrifice day 1, he was the one who inaugurated the altar, and then the altar is inaugurated. So you would think that day 1 is the best thing. First of all, it shows the greatness of the one who brought it on day 1, Nachshon Nadav. Second of all, the impact of his gift. Now the chefza, what he changed by giving the sacrifice, also day 1 is the one who did the full inauguration. So you would think that Nachshon has the real prize, and everyone else is the loser's prize. You would think he is the one who was honored with the first gift. He is the one who really inaugurated the altar. Therefore, the Medrash clarifies and says, "Don't think that way." The Torah considers each leader as if they brought first and if they inaugurated the altar and if they did the very first sacrifice. So that makes sense. That's the Medrash says, the first phrase in the Medrash. Let's consider it as if they all brought on day one. Okay, now we understand. What's so good about saying it's considered as they all brought last? Talking about little children, is your first is the worst, and second is the third is the one that gets, you try to tell the child that the last is best. But what we're talking about Teres Emes over here, truth. How is it considered a virtue to begin if it's if all of the gifts were in the last? Explanations as follows. What's the point of bringing sacrifices on the altar? The general theme of offering these sacrifices is closeness. The word sacrifice in Hebrew comes from the word karev, which means close. The one who's offering the sacrifice is becoming closer with the Eibishter. He's getting more in touch. Yudua, the reason why Hashem divided the Jewish people into 12 tribes is because every single tribe has their way of serving Hashem. As Yaakov blessed each of the Shvatim, a different blessing, because each of them has their own way of serving Hashem. They all have this different spiritual gift. They're all connected to Hashem in a different way. There are 12 different paths. And each leader and each tribe has a unique way of serving Hashem. That's why there's 12 tribes. And that's the reason why the inauguration of the altar was done through all 12 leaders. It wasn't done through Moshe and Aaron. It was specifically done through each of the 12 leaders of each tribe. Why? Because each leader inaugurated the altar according to his way of serving Hashem. Each leader brought sacrifices in sync with his specific path in serving Hashem. That's how the Medrash answers something else. The Medrash asks, how come the Torah repeats the gift of each tribe? If they all brought the same thing, so just say once, they all brought the same thing. This is what they brought. But the Torah doesn't do it. The Torah says, the leader of the tribe of Yehuda brought this gift. And it says all details of the gift. Leader of the tribe of Yisachar brought this gift. And it's exactly the same as the gift of Yehuda. But the Torah doesn't say it's just the same. The Torah says all the details again of the same exact gift that the leader of Yehuda brought. So why did Torah repeat it again? So Medrash answers, each of these leaders may have brought the same thing, but they all had a different intent. Each tribe has different blessing, different path, different way of serving Hashem. Each person brought the same gift with his own insight. And the Medrash describes at length what Nachshon meant when he brought the silver bowl and what Yisachar meant. And it's different. And each tribe had different intent to bring the same exact gift. So it comes out that each day of these 12 days of inauguration, there's a totally different inauguration. Each tribe is inaugurating the altar in their way of coming close to Hashem, and their path in serving Hashem. There's a different inauguration each day. It's a brand new inauguration that nothing to do as totally unique to the inauguration day before. So the inauguration of the altar was not completed until each leader and all the leaders brought their sacrifices according to their path. They served Hashem with their unique role, their unique way of serving Hashem. Only then is the altar inaugurated. So only on day 12, for example, when the tribe of Naphtali is offering their sacrifice, only then are the people of the tribe of Naphtali brought closer to Hashem in this Mishkan, which their lives is about, as the Torah says, that Hashem blessed tribe of Naphtali to be like a gazelle. So their connection to Hashem is only created, inaugurated on day 12. That's going to explain why Medrash says we consider it as if they brought it on day 1, and we consider it as if they all brought it on day 12. What is Medrash saying? Which one's better? Although on each day of the inauguration there is a new detail that was inaugurated that was not done the day before, through the leader of that specific day, he opened up a new channel in the way of service, in the service of Hashem that was not brought the day before. There's still an advantage in day 1, and there's an advantage in day 12. On day 1, you have the advantage of the beginning, of opening up this whole inauguration ceremony, of making the first connection. More, main thing is, on day 1, in addition to connecting the tribe of Yehuda with the service, besides that, there is now a new thing. The altar has now been inaugurated. There's something brand new. There's a general connection that has been achieved through the gift of the very first leader of the tribe of Yehuda. Then he has now inaugurated the altar. He's opened up the door for the inauguration. We now have an altar which is now prepared for the service through his gift. So besides the unique connection that the tribe of Yehuda has with Hashem, which he is enhanced by his gift, besides that, he's also made the initial connection of the altar in general with Hashem. With the altar is now being inaugurated and is now ready to be used in the service. But there's an advantage also on day 12. Now all of the tribes, including the last tribe, Naphtali, has also been connected, and their service of Hashem has now been enhanced by their gift being brought in the altar of the Mishkan, and now they have received something, a closeness that the sacrifice gives. They have gotten this additional closeness to Hashem through their offering being brought. So now we have on day 12 a renewal of the altar for all the Jewish people. Until day 12, you don't have this closeness that the sacrifice is meant to achieve for the Jewish people as a whole. You have it for each tribe, you have it for most of the Shvatim. But when you say that all the Jewish people have now been enhanced with this closeness with Hashem, you can only say this in day 12. And this is what the Medrash means when it says, we consider it as if they all brought it on day 1. They all brought it on day 12. Each leader only was able to achieve the inauguration for his sacrifices. But it's not only that each leader achieved the inauguration for his sacrifices, rather, we consider it as if each leader has the advantage of the general inauguration. So there's two things that we consider each leader. The first and last, right? So we consider it as if each leader achieved the potential of all the details. In other words, Yehuda, he opens the door. So he has the advantage of creating the potential of the full inauguration. So we consider each leader as opening the door and creating the potential for inauguration. That's the first thing that it says. We consider it as if each of them brought on day 1. And the Medrash says we consider that each of them is brought on day 12. What does that mean? Not only does each of them is considered as opening the door for the potential for inauguration of all 12 tribes, but more, we consider as each of them has completed the entire inauguration for Klal Yisrael. So there's an advantage of being the Klal Yisrael guy, of finishing the whole thing for all the Jewish people. That's the advantage of the tribe of Naphtali. And there's an advantage of the tribe of Yehuda, who opened the door first and made the potential for everyone to connect to Hashem and for the altar to be inaugurated, to create the potential for all 12 tribes. So we consider each of them as if opening the door first, and we consider each of them as if they concluded the inauguration for all the Jewish people. Okay, move on. It's understood. If the Torah of truth, because the Torah of truth says that we consider it as if they all brought on day 1, and we consider it as if they brought on day 12, so that means that each tribe, each leader, in truth, is a part of everybody. Every leader has the advantage, has a portion in day 1, and every leader has a portion in day 12. The Kachmas been menforshim the Ramesh Likkutei was some of the Dvar Mashalayim like Revechem and Yisrael Chaveir Sheikul Ilik Revechem and Yisrael Chaveir like Kavanachem men Deichas HaShabbos the Kamashal Shevet Shpaim Shokul HaShabbos Deichas HaShabbos. Medrash says that no one brought anything more than the other. No one had a bigger gift than the other. Because if one of them would have brought something more than anyone else, then the halacha would have been that none of the sacrifices would have pushed off Shabbos. That's what the Medrash says. Medrash says the tribe of Ephraim, their sacrifices brought in Shabbos. The halacha would have been, they would not have been able, if one of the tribes would have brought a bigger gift than anyone else, then the halacha would have been that none of the tribes would have been able to bring it on Shabbos. Why? Well, what does that mean? What's the connection between the size of the gifts and the fact that they're all equal with pushing off Shabbos and offering a sacrifice on Shabbos? What's the reason that the halacha is that their gifts pushes off the laws of Shabbos, and we do all these things which are usually forbidden on Shabbos? We slaughter the animal, we burn it. Why is this allowed to be done on Shabbos? It's only because the Torah considers all of the tribes as if they were the first, and all the tribes are there as if they were the last. The halacha is that you can bring a personal sacrifice on Shabbos. You can bring a communal sacrifice on Shabbos. So the question is, how do we view the gifts of the leaders of the tribes? Do we look at it as a personal gift, or as a korban tzibur, as a gift for all the Jewish people? So Medrash says, do we consider it as if it's a communal gift? And the proof that it's a communal gift is the fact that they all brought the same size sacrifice. Since each day, each of them brought this very same sacrifices, that indicates, that demonstrates that each of them wasn't only bringing a gift for that specific leader, rather, each of them was also contributing to the community as a whole, and therefore they were able to be brought on Shabbos. So it's as if each sacrifice was something that all of the Jewish people were offering. So although, let's say, day 1 is the tribe of Yehuda, it's not just the tribe of Yehuda. Yehuda is bringing a segment of the sum of all the Jewish people's sacrifices to Hashem. If Yehuda would only have brought his sacrifice, if that's what his role would have been, then that would have been an individual sacrifice. An individual sacrifice can be brought on Shabbos. But because Yehuda's sacrifice is considered as if it was brought on day 12, and because Naphtali's sacrifice is considered as if it's brought on day 1, what that means is that we look at each sacrifice as having to do with either the potential energy of all the Jewish people, or, if you will, the kinetic energy of all the Jewish people, of the practical revelation of all the Jewish people. So because each of these gifts are not just a detail, but they're a segment of the whole. That's why they're allowed to be brought on Shabbos. It's not considered as if just one sacrifice. They're considered as if they're brought on the last day. Considered as if they're brought on the first day. It's about Klal Yisrael. They brought them on different days, but they're all about Klal Yisrael. Okay, so everything's all rainbows and roses right now. We need to have we still have a question. It's Explain everything really well. It's still a question. We need to understand. We said before that why is it that the Torah repeats over and over again the details of the offering of each leader? The reason is because although they brought the same things, each of them had something else in mind when they brought this gift. So if each of them has something else in mind, so then that points out to the individuality of each sacrifice. Why are we saying that they were all offering as a segment of Klal Yisrael? Really, we see that each tribe, it was highlighted their own unique gift. Tzadcheni, on the other hand, if indeed all of them were about Klal Yisrael, then why was it divided in 12 days? On the one hand, why are they all thinking about their own thoughts if it's about Klal Yisrael? On the other hand, if indeed it's about Klal Yisrael, then why are they bringing it in different days? Originally, the leaders thought that's what we should do. We should all bring on the same day. The pasuk indicates that they originally thought to bring all their sacrifices on the same day. But despite their intent to bring it all together, God said that specifically each leader should bring a sacrifice on their own day. They shouldn't bring it all together. So we must say that there's two different components in their offerings. On the one hand, the offerings of the leaders of the tribes were communal offerings. It was about everyone together. It wasn't about the individual nature of each tribe. On the other hand, the halacha is that each leader, when they brought the sacrifice, had to use their own money to buy the sacrifice. Mishaloi, as Rashi says, each one brought the sacrifice in their own money. So, and we don't find that sometimes the halacha is you could use your own money. Like for example, the daily communal sacrifices, you're supposed to give a half shekel, but it's not like you have a half shekel, you have a share that you own the communal sacrifice. You're supposed to give away the money that belongs now to the community. And so the sacrifice which is purchased is Meser Yafa Yafa, it belongs to the community. It doesn't belong to the individual anymore. So we don't find that's regarding the daily sacrifice. Now, you give your half shekel, it no longer is yours, that belongs to the community. However, regarding the leaders of the tribes, you don't find that emphasis. Each one gave their own sacrifice with their own money, and it remained their own sacrifice. And that the Torah emphasizes. Each person has their own thing in mind, they bring the sacrifice. And as the Torah says, whose sacrifice is this? This is a sacrifice of Nachshon and another. So that's why they're all brought in different days. Each one has something else in mind. They have their own unique gift, and they have the ownership of that gift. So we find two opposite things we have to explain about the sacrifices. That on the one hand, we see that it's Klal Yisrael that they're brought on Shabbos. On the other hand, we find specifically highlighted the ownership of each leader and the intent of each person. We have to figure out how these